Coming up on Broncos A to Z. After the Denver Broncos dropped their second straight game and third in overtime this season, we'll examine a few of the momentum-crushing moments against the Raiders that played into the final result, before looking ahead to the Broncos' Week 12 road trip to Carolina. Broncos A to Z starts right now. Inside the Broncos Media Center for Broncos A to Z, everyone. I'm Alexis Perry alongside DNVR's Zach Stevens. Zach, I don't think a single person predicted back in September that Derek Carr and the Raiders would sweep Russell Wilson and the Broncos this year. But that is the reality of where this team is at 10 games into the season. Before we get into the analysis, let's have Broncos Director of Production Austin Brink set the scene from this past Sunday between the Broncos and Raiders.
Welcome to Empower Field at Mile High, where this afternoon the Denver Broncos will play host to the Las Vegas Raiders. The 125th time these two franchises have hooked up, all the way back to 1960.
Heads is the goal. Tails, Denver wins the choice.
Broncos have a first down and goal, a football length inside the 1-yard line. Wilson under center, turns hands to Latavius Murray. Murray powers into the end zone. Touchdown, Denver. And I would dare say the early returns on Clint Kubiak calling plays have been pretty positive.
2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs and both toes. Here's an important 3rd down and 2. 2 receivers on each side of the formation. Wilson in the gun, Murray to his left. Wilson shotgun snap, looks left, floats one in the area of Courtland Sutton. Sutton makes an unbelievable catch. First down, Denver at the Raider 42-yard line. 11:08 and counting here in the 4th, and the Broncos up by 3. They run the counter left, and Jacobs is grabbed and hung onto by Baron Browning around the neck, and he pulled him down at the 43-yard line, a 2-yard loss. Boy, Baron Browning's got a chance to be just a great player. First and 10 at the 29. 4-man pressure, quick throw over the middle. That ball is caught. And Courtland Sutton breaks a tackle and moves up out to the 43-yard line, a gain of 14.
On 3rd and 6. Wilson under pressure. It is Max Crosby yet again.
Looks like just about everybody stayed here for this overtime. Gotta make some noise.
Carr sets in the pocket, floats a ball wide open. Devontae Adams. This game is over. Adams into the south end zone. Touchdown, Raiders. 22-16. Raiders over the Broncos in overtime.
We'll get into what went wrong, but first, let's start with what went right, especially early in the game. Coach Hackett turned the play calling duties over to passing game coordinator and quarterbacks coach Clint Kubiak, and the Broncos didn't punt once in the first half. So, Zach, what did you like about that offensive play calling, especially during the first 30 minutes?
Well, I love what Clint did with Russell Wilson. He allowed Russ to get in a rhythm. Russ finished the first half 13 of 15, which was so key, and something else that was very key was the Broncos' success on 3rd down. Nathaniel Hackett, time and time again, talks about how the Broncos have to do better on 3rd down. Not if you don't get to 3rd down, and that's what the Broncos did in their first drive, which went for a touchdown. They didn't have a single 3rd down, which is so impressive. Their next drive, they didn't have a 3rd down until the very end of the drive when they settled for a field goal. And then all 3 chances that they had in the first half went into scoring range and should have all converted into scores outside of that missed field goal at the end of the first half.
Well, in terms of personnel for Clint Kubiak, we knew wide receiver Jerry Jeudy as well as KJ Hamler, they were out of that game. The offensive line, they were banged up. Running back Chase Edmonds, he didn't even finish that game. But who were some of the guys that you saw really take advantage of those extra reps that they got Sunday?
Well, you mentioned wide receiver and you mentioned running back, and at wide receiver, Kendall Hinton continues to step up, and he's moved past the point of just being a good story. He's a a really good football player.
More than just a Hall of Famer.
Exactly. More than a Hall of Famer. What more can you ask for? 3 catches, second most on the team. He was the Broncos' second leading receiver, 57 yards. He was very impressive. And then in the running back room, with Melvin Gordon having some struggles, they turned to Latavius Murray. He had 17 carries on the day, 49 yards. Not the best yards per carry, but he was the only person to get into the end zone for the Broncos, and they are going to really rely on Latavius moving forward.
Well, the final 34 seconds of the first half proved costly, not just for the Broncos, but also Melvin Gordon. He fumbled on 3rd and 1 and was subsequently waived on Monday. So what was your reaction to the news when you heard that he was released, and what does this mean for this running backs room moving forward?
Yeah, Alexis, it was about time. When you have Melvin Gordon cost the team so many times, that fumble against the Seahawks, the fumble against the Raiders the first time, which they then returned for a touchdown, and then this fumble, which cost the Broncos 7 points potentially, you had to make a move there. And Nathaniel Hackett talks about accountability week in and week out, and this was the first major move that we saw. And so it puts a lot more pressure on Latavius Murray, because right now the only 2 healthy Broncos running backs, Latavius Murray and Marlon Mack. You also have Divine Ozigbo, and Nathaniel Hackett said on Monday that they're going to bring him up. You're going to rely on those 3 guys, and all 3 guys 6 weeks ago were on a different team's practice squad outside of Divine being on this squad.
For the Raiders, their big names had big games. Devontae Adams with 2 touchdowns, including the game winner, 141 yards receiving for him. Josh Jacobs, he ran for over 100 yards on the Broncos again. So while this wasn't Denver's most dominant defensive performance, they still held the Raiders to just 16 points. Like, that should be enough, Zach.
Anytime you hold the team to 16 points in regulation, it should be enough, Alexis. It really should be. But the defense had the game in their hands, too. At the very end, you can't complain about allowing a team to score 16 points, but at the very end of the game, they could have won the game. But no, they allowed Josh Jacobs to catch a crucial wheel route over Josie Jewell to set up the game-tying field goal to send it into overtime. And then in overtime, it only took them 3 plays to go down the field and score on a walk-off touchdown. So the defense, they should have been good enough to win, but they also did cost the game at the end.
Well, 60 minutes wasn't enough for the Broncos and Raiders, but as many in Broncos country are saying, it should have been. That 3rd and 10 pass play after the 2-minute warning proved to be the final dagger. So what have you really learned about that play since Sunday?
So let's set the scene. Coming out of the 2-minute warning, the Raiders had no timeouts. Broncos 3rd and 10. If they get a first down, they win the game. If they don't get a first down, but they keep the clock running, it's going to take about 40 seconds off the clock. You give the Raiders the ball back in their field position with just over a minute left. So the Broncos, they went for the win. That was the mindset of throwing the ball, was they wanted to win, get that first down, end the game. But as Nathaniel Hackett said after the game, one thing you can't do is throw an incompletion. You can't run out of bounds. You can take a sack, actually. Sack is not the worst thing there. So the Broncos went for the win, put the ball in Russell Wilson's hands. I have no issue with the play call of giving Russell Wilson, $250 million quarterback, the ball to end the game and try to win it. But then Russ throws the ball, an incomplete pass. He said the ball just kind of got away from him, and that's what I have to imagine what happened, because there were some contested receivers, but he could have fit the ball in there. That was the situation that you could not have. Then you hand the ball over to the Raiders with over 1:50 left.
Yeah, looking back at how that game unfolded, what do you hope the Broncos' biggest takeaway is from that game?
Well, I hope they look at the first half and see what worked. Despite only scoring 10 points, what they were able to do by getting Russell Wilson in a rhythm. Like I said, he was throwing 57% completion entering this game. In this game, 77% completion. Get him more to that. Russell Wilson doesn't have to be a deep ball artist every single play. You don't have to be doing that. Get him some short passes. Get him some slants. And I love the way Clint Kubiak utilized Russ and getting him in that rhythm early.
All right, well, as we head to break, we will leave you with the legend himself, Dave Logan, for some of his most impassioned calls from Week 11.
2-by-2 the set as Carr is in the shotgun. Blitz on the way. Carr in the pocket. They heat him up. They've got him. And down he goes. That's Josie Jewell. 6-man pressure that time. It was an orange rush to Derek Carr. Now rolls to his left. He's got Hinton wide open on the west sideline, and Hinton scurries up and has a first down at the 31-yard line. That's a gain of 17. Wilson takes a shotgun snap, 3-man rush. Russell bounces around, climbs the pocket, decides to run. Russell will head to the sideline and go down. He's hit late, and that's going to be a penalty on the Raiders. So back-to-back personal foul penalties. I think it was Max Crosby. No reason to do that at all. Wilson had given himself up, and Crosby piled on him. He's arguing his point, but I think this will be to no avail. Six-man pressure, blitz on the way. Wilson loads it up, throws the ball. That is caught inside the 15-yard line. That's a first down, Denver. Nice catch there by Cortland Sutton on a stop shoulder, back shoulder fade. Carr looks like he's changing the play. Snap clock is at 7. They run the same play, the draw, and Jacobs this time will be hit in the backfield and will lose about a half yard. Henningsen and Jewell combining that last tackle. Shotgun snap to Carr, looks to set up a screen, throws the ball that is caught in the flat, and Abdullah takes a big shot down at the 39-yard line from Alex Singleton. See what the Broncos do here. Double tight end set, wing right, slot left. Wilson under center, takes the handoff, takes the snap, turns hands off to Latavius Murray. Murray's got a first down, and the big backup ended at the 34-yard line. A 12-yard run on 2nd and 8, hit there by Trayvon Mooring.
Well, just like the Broncos, we are quick to turn the page to this Week 12 matchup for our way too early game preview between the Broncos and Panthers. Both teams with 3 wins so far this season. The Panthers with 1 more loss. The most recent came this past Sunday as they fell 13-3 to the Ravens. So, Zach, what is your overall impression of this Carolina Panthers team right now?
Well, the Panthers are in shambles, Alexis, not just with their 3-8 record, but they look completely different than they did at the start of the season. They have a new head coach. Now they have an interim head coach. They have a different quarterback than who they started the season with. Their best player they traded away, and their best wide receiver, Robbie Anderson, they also traded away. This is a team who has pretty much said on the offensive side of the ball, we're going to start from scratch. We don't know who our quarterback is. We don't know who our head coach is moving forward, but they love what they have on defense. In fact, the Rams offered them 2 first-round picks for one of their defenders, Brian Burns, and they declined it because they said we are keeping this defense intact. So that's what this team is building around. Similar to the Broncos in terms of they want to win with defense this year, and they're going to start fresh on offense.
What did you see as the Achilles heel for the Panthers in their most recent loss to the Ravens?
That offense. Alexis, we've talked about how much the Broncos offense has struggled. They've never put up 3 points in a game, and that's exactly what the Panthers did against the Ravens. Only able to get 3 points on the board with Baker Mayfield coming back as their starter. They've had PJ Walker in, he got hurt. Now it's Baker Mayfield, and they've said that they're going to decide their starting quarterback this Wednesday, so we'll stay tuned for that to see who it's going to be, and that's going to be a test that the Broncos should easily pass on defense. They should be able to stop this Carolina Panthers offense. Just going to be about the Broncos offense. Can they put up 16, 18, 20 points against this defense?
What are some of the key matchups that you're going to be looking for this Sunday?
We talked about Pat Surtain earlier. I want to see how he does against DJ Moore, because after the game, Davante Adams was caught on camera saying that Pat Surtain was too young. He's not ready yet to play at this level. I think that was just a great player beating another great player in that game. DJ Moore is a very good receiver for the Carolina Panthers. I want to see Pat Surtain, see how he rebounds. He's a guy that's so calm and cool. He does not get rattled. I think he's going to have a terrific response.
I think he's going to bounce back just like any veteran corner would, even though he's only in year 2. Okay, what is something that you've seen from this Denver Broncos team that you think could be successful, or you just want to see implemented this Sunday in Carolina?
I want to see them run the stop Derrick Henry package on defense, because when the Broncos did it 2 weeks ago against Derrick Henry and the Tennessee Titans, they held Derrick Henry to the 2nd fewest rushing yards that he's had in the past 2 years. They didn't do it as much against the Raiders, and we see Josh Jacobs go for over 100 rushing yards. And this game is all about stopping Dante Foreman, the running back for the Carolina Panthers. In his past 5 games, he has 3 100 rushing yards. In those games, 2-1 the Panthers are. And in the two games that he didn't get 100 rushing yards, he had 23 and 24 rushing yards, including this past game against the Ravens. If the Broncos hold him to 20 rushing yards, 30 rushing yards, even 50 rushing yards, they're going to win this game, and it should be pretty easy, because I think the Broncos' pass defense will be able to control whoever's at quarterback for Carolina. So that's what I want to see. That's the key to this game.
So the number 1 key to victory, though, is that it? Stopping the run?
Potentially, and just scoring 20 points, 17 points, 13 points? I honestly think, Alexis, 13 points could get a victory for the Broncos.
Yes, we're hoping to see the Broncos get back on track this Sunday at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. As always, you can tune in for the extensive game preview this Friday at 5 o'clock. I will be joined by the Hall of Famer Steve Atwater and former Broncos offensive lineman Orlando Franklin. Until then, thank you all so much for watching. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours.